what happened. Okay. Huh. I don't know what's going on. It was fine in the other meeting. Good afternoon. Thank you for participating in our virtual meeting for the Western Riverside Council of Governments Executive Committee meeting. At this time, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Before we begin, please silence all your other communication devices, such as your cell and desk phone, and to ensure that we're not, so that we know we're not hearing feedback or causing interruption during the meeting. During the meeting, all participants except for the presenter and myself will be placed on mute. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could throw the flag up there, I'd appreciate it. All rise. I'll try to lead you. I'm having trouble with my microphone for some reason. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So before we do roll call, I want to welcome a few people. First off, I want to welcome David Happ. Is it Happ, sir, from Banning? I don't know if you can hear me. All right, well, David Happ. Wendy Hewitt, who I think is related to somebody. The mayor of Corona, Jackie Casillas. Delighted to have her here. They let Bootsma back in? Oh my goodness. Welcome, Mike. Nice to see you. Chris Barajas, who I have worked with quite a bit in the past. I've really enjoyed him. Lori Stone, congratulations from Marietta. Mayor Locke Dawson, welcome. Patricia Locke Dawson. Nice to have you here. Congratulations on your win. And Phil Paul, welcome to all of you. I hope you enjoy your time, and we get a lot of stuff done here. So with that, let's go ahead, Janice, and have roll call.
Certainly. When I call your jurisdiction, if you would please state your name for the record. City of Banning. Beaumont.
Mike Lawrence here.
Calamasa.
Wendy Hewitt.
Canyon Lake. Mr. Aaron Kranz, did I see you? Does anybody see Jordan Aaron Kranz?
I do not see him on here.
Thank you. Corona.
Jackie Casillas here and excited to join the team.
Thank you. Eastville. I see you, Mr. Bootsma. Hemet.
Russ Brown.
Rupa Valley. Chris Barajas, I see you, sir. Lake Elsinore.
Ryan Tisdale.
Thank you, sir. Menifee.
Matt Fleesmeyer.
Thank you, sir. Moreno Valley.
Victoria Baca here.
Murrieta.
Lori Stone here.
Thank you. Welcome. Norco.
Thank you.
Here.
Paris.
Rita Rogers here.
Riverside.
Patricia Dawson here.
Thank you. Welcome. San Jacinto.
Crystal Ruiz here.
Temecula.
Marianne Edwards. Good afternoon.
Wildemar.
Here, Benoit.
County of Riverside, District 1. District 2.
Here.
District 3.
Here.
District 5.
Jeff Hewitt here.
Eastern Municipal Water District.
Phil Pauly for Eastern.
Thank you. Welcome. Western Municipal Water District.
Brenda Denstead here. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Riverside County Superintendent of Schools. Dr. Gomez. WRCOG TAC Chair.
Andy Okoro is here.
Thank you. That concludes roll call, and we have quorum.
Janice,
Go ahead, Susie.
I'd like to add that Jordan just joined us.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Janice. We'll now move on to public comments. At this time, members of the public can address the committee regarding any items listed on the agenda. Members of the public will have an opportunity to speak on agendized items at the time the item is called for discussion. During this time, no action may be taken on items not listed on the agenda unless authorized by law. Whenever possible, lengthy testimony should be presented to the committee in writing and only pertinent points presented orally. For guest speakers or public comments, please adhere to the speaker time limit of 3 minutes. Please treat others with courtesy and civility and respect of the public meeting process. Are there any public comments, Janice?
We have one request from Stacy Tutt. However, I'm uncertain if it is for general public comment or if it's under a specific item. So Ms. Tutt, if you are on the line, you could clarify.
It would be for general comment as it pertains to the PACE program, which is not on the agenda.
Okay, very well. So our timer function is not working in our PowerPoint, so I have the timer set on my phone. So when you begin speaking, I'm going to start the timer, and when your time is up, I will mute your mic.
Thank you. And thank you to all of the members here today. And my name is Stacy Tutt. I am the director of UC Irvine's Consumer Law Clinic, in which we provide representation to homeowners with PACE assessments. And though we are very happy, and I'm here today, speaking on their behalf. Though we are happy with WRCOG's decision to stop the PACE program, we remain concerned about the homeowners still struggling with their PACE assessments. And so we are here today to ask that WRCOG establish a restitution fund to resolve complaints without protracted litigation. As many know, Renovate America has filed for bankruptcy, which will likely limit the relief defrauded homeowners will have access to. And it is also likely the bankruptcy stay will only make it more difficult for homeowners to resolve their claims, given their limited access to the records Renovate America maintains on behalf of the HERO program. Meanwhile, our homeowners are still saddled with ongoing annual assessment payments. There's currently no moratorium on tax assessments, so even during this crisis, our homeowners are faced with a mounting debt that can ultimately result in foreclosure. Once the foreclosure moratoriums expire at the end of this month, we anticipate a wave of homeowners will receive foreclosure notices from their mortgage servicers due to their inability to pay their property tax payments. WRCOG has the ability to stop this. In a recent filing in Renovate America bankruptcy case, WRCOG estimated it would spend $8.5 million on just the 17 current pending lawsuits. It was estimated that each lawsuit would cost $500,000 in just fees and costs per case. Instead, WRCOG should set up a clear and transparent claims resolution process to provide homeowners with much needed relief. WRCOG has the authority to release the lien, stop or suspend future assessments, as well as reimburse defrauded homeowners. WRCOG is not reliant on Renovate America to address the concerns, as WRCOG is the owner of the PACE assessment within the bonds and has directly contracted with DTA for the enrollment and collection of the PACE assessments. We also understand that a percentage of funds have been set aside as a loss reserve fund, so believe there are a wide variety of options WRCOG can offer to struggling homeowners. Now is the time to help homeowners before they are irreparably harmed by the loss of their homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Daniel Lewis.
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Lewis. I'm a fellow at Betsedec Legal Services. We also represent homeowners with PACE loans. And thanks for allowing me the chance to speak today. At its December 7th meeting, WRCOG voted to end its residential PACE program. And we think this is the right first step, but there are still future steps to be taken. For example, as Stacy just said, establishing a complaint resolution process, also establishing a restitution fund for homeowners. We also think there needs to be a hearing or a meeting that's open to the public where these next steps can be discussed. So far, homeowners have not been truly heard in this process until they've been in danger of losing their homes. But now we've got a chance to involve the people who have been harmed in the planning process going forward. Ending the program prevents harm to future homeowners, but doesn't fix the harm that has already been done to homeowners impacted by PACE. People still have these assessments. They've not gone away. People are still on the hook for tens of thousands, or even in some cases over $100,000. Low-income homeowners struggle to make these payments and their home ownership is still in danger. That danger doesn't go away just by ending the program. People have still been defrauded and victimized, and homeowners need to be able to have a complaint process and a restitution fund so that their harm can be remedied. PACE is a complicated program, and it was designed with good intentions. The impact it has had on low-income homeowners was not foreseen, though. You all saw yourselves in the December 7th meeting how impactful the stories of homeowners were, but also how far they were from the expectations WRCOG had for PACE. We need to continue to listen to homeowners themselves to make sure that the next steps in the program fare better. And the only way to do this is to have an open hearing or meeting so that the next steps can be discussed in public. And I also think that would be better than, having public comments here and there. It would be good to just have one full meeting where it can all be discussed substantially. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Steph Carroll. You're muted.
Hi, thank you for that. And thank you again for this opportunity to speak. And I'm going to be echoing a lot of what Stacey and Daniel said. Public Counsel, where I am the director of the Consumer Rights and Economic Justice team, we've seen over 300 PACE victim clients over the past few years, many from Los Angeles, but some of whom have fallen under WRCOG's PACE program. The last time I spoke at one of your meetings, you voted to end WRCOG's residential PACE, and we applaud that wholeheartedly. And you also heard from one of our clients who have been defrauded. We have many other client stories, including accounts of outright forgery and people being impersonated on calls with PACE administrators. With the advent of Renovate's bankruptcy, any Renovate client who has been defrauded can now only look to the municipality or joint powers authority such as WRCOG for relief to help them avoid foreclosure. I implore you on behalf of those clients to set up a robust complaints resolution and restitution system. The first critical step in this is to secure the client files from Renovate to include all consumer-related documents, including DocuSign trails and the all-important telephone call recordings. The second step is to build a complaints process that thoroughly investigates consumer complaints and looks at what the consumer knew and understood about financing when they signed up for it, whether and to what extent price gouging was occurring. For example, we've seen $1,500 water heaters costing over $10,000. Whether and to what extent any work has been done, whether and to what extent the work was appropriate for the home. Most of our clients' homes are less than, around 1,500 square feet and often have had improvements that bear no relation to the size of the home. Whether and to what extent the work was actually done properly, were solar panels attached, for example. Whether and to what extent the work was properly permitted and then passed inspection under local building codes. These are just a few of the items that we would like you to investigate thoroughly. And then the third is to make sure that the complaints are resolved appropriately. Nobody should be paying a huge lien for work that was never completed, least of all our low-income consumers. That they may have been duped into signing a completion certificate doesn't mean that they got anything. And they shouldn't have to pay for the bad business decisions of Renovate America or any other PACE administrator who paid over hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of our low-income clients' home equity without bothering to check that work had actually been done. Renovate America and others in this process have made a lot of money out of this deeply flawed business model that let contractors going door to door run amok in our communities, destroying the last vestiges of wealth for many and preventing our Latino and African American clients from passing on that wealth, built up generally over their lifetimes. They prevented from passing that on to their next generation. And we call on WRCOG to step up and fix this mess and make our defrauded clients whole. I thank you wholeheartedly for your time.
Thank you.
Anyone
And
else?
that concludes that I can see public comments.
Anybody else listening that wants to do public comments? Going once, twice? All right, that closes public comments. Moving on to the consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Prior to the motion to consider any action by the committee, any public comments on any consent item will be heard. First off, do we have any members of the public that have any questions or comments, Janet?
I have no requests.
Okay. Anybody wishing to pull any consent item for discussion?
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Jordan.
Dennis? This is
Yes, sir.
Jordan.
Yes.
Jordan Aaronkrantz. I had trouble getting in.
Okay, we see you. Thank you, sir. I saw you during roll call. And Committee Member Hewitt has his hand raised.
Great, great. Which Hewitt?
Ah, Mr. Hewitt.
Mr. Hewitt.
Yeah, I would like to vote and just put down I will not vote on 5D. I'll abstain on that. There's a lot of good things in that legislative, but there's some that I just can't stomach, and I don't want a yes vote with any of that. So I'll just be abstaining on the legislative 5D.
Noted.
Anybody else?
Mike Elsinore moves approval.
Great.
Paris will second.
Roll call, please, Janice.
Banning. Beaumont.
Yes.
Calamasa.
Here.
Yes.
Is that a yes? No.
Sorry.
Didn't teach you anything.
And Canyon Lake.
Yes.
Corona.
Yes.
Eastville.
Abstain.
From the entire consent calendar. Emmett.
Yes.
Rupa Valley.
Yes.
Lake Elsinore.
Yes.
Menifee.
Yes.
Moreno Valley.
Yes.
Murrieta.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll abstain from the whole agenda.
Thank you. Norco.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Riverside.
Yes.
San Jacinto.
Yes.
Temecula.
Aye.
Wildemar.
Aye.
District 1. District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
District 5, I have your noted abstention from 5D. Anything else?
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Eastern Municipal Water District.
Aye.
Western Municipal Water District.
Aye.
That concludes roll call for that item, and it passes.
Moving on to item 6, reports and discussion. First report from Cal Cities, Aaron Sassy.
Okay, sorry, it took me a second to get off mute. Hello, everyone. Nice to see all of you. Just a couple updates. I know we're starting to gear up into the legislative session. There's been a lot of bills introduced. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the news articles on the governor's budget. A record-breaking budget with a significant surplus at the state level. Unfortunately, there was not any aid in it for local government. So I know that's something that we are advocating for, is to get some additional direct and flexible funding for all of you in our cities. We had our policy committees meet a couple weeks back, and then the Housing Policy Committee just met again last Friday. We've had a lot of our conferences underway. I know a lot of you participated in the new mayors and council members conference. We have our city manager conference going right now as we speak. Some of the legislative items I wanted to flag for you. SB 1383, which is the organic waste bill from several years ago, it is still on track to be implemented on January 1st of 2022. So all of you as cities need to start really focusing in and working on efforts to implement that. We definitely know it's a challenge. We've been asking since this legislation was passed for it to be delayed. We've been asking again this year in light of all of the struggles with COVID. So far, we have not been successful. We are potentially pursuing some legislation to try to get a delay for this. But so no, we're working on it with you, but the timeline is pretty short at this point for all of you. There are a couple broadband bills that are very positive, we think, for cities. It just helps increase some of the infrastructure for broadband, some additional funding for underserved areas. So that's AB 14 and SB 4. We support both of those. On the housing front, this is going to be a largely, the legislature's priority will be on housing once again. There is SB 9, which we, as of last Friday, took an oppose a less amended position on. It still has to go to our board, but that's what the policy committee recommended. This basically allows for duplexes and lot splits. So definitely something you would all should be looking at because it would take away a lot of your local control and your housing development plans. SB 10 is a reintroduction. This is Senator Wiener of last year's AB 902. This would allow cities to build apartment buildings of 10 units without a CEQA. SB 55 is one that I know some of you have brought up to me. Basically, this would prohibit the building of residential and commercial in very high fire hazard severity zones, which is a significant portion for many of your cities. Our policy committee did recommend and oppose last week. There's a second bill, SB 12, with Senator McGuire that basically just says there needs to be some certain safety requirements if you're going to build. So it doesn't ban it outright, but it says, you know, if you're going to build in these areas, you should do X, Y, and Z. So that's at least a better proposal than SB 55. And then there is a bill, SB 60, that increases the maximum fines for violations with short-term rental ordinances. So you might want to look at that. I know we don't have a position on that yet. And then another one I wanted to flag is SB 2, which repeals voter approval of affordable housing projects. So right now, the California Constitution prohibits development, construction, or acquisition of a low rent housing projects by any state public body until it's approved by a majority of the electorate. So this would repeal that. So it would make it a little bit easier for the state to come in and have the development for affordable housing projects. I'd be happy to take any questions. We have our division training that's geared a little bit for our newer elected officials, but it's this coming Friday via Zoom. I know I've sent out the agenda. I'll be sending it out again, but I know that Rick Bishop is participating with that on one of the panels. So I encourage all of you to join that, but thank you. And I'm happy to be here and happy to answer any questions.
At the moment, I don't see any hands raised. Does anybody have some comments or questions of Aaron?
Mr. Chair, this is Casey, if I may. Aaron, thank you for that update. And I just wanted to just touch a little bit on the 1383 comments that you made. We have been in communication with CR&R, and in a couple of weeks, we'll be having our solid waste committee meeting, in which we will be having a very robust discussion on this particular effort. Aaron, I'd love to connect with you offline to have a little bit more information so that we can present it. And we'll be considering a letter that would be on behalf of WRCOG and the cities requesting a delay. So would love to get some more information from you, Aaron, as available. And I'd also just wanted to share with the rest of the executive committee that we're working on this effort concurrently through our solid waste committee.
Yeah, that would definitely be very helpful. I will say that in this realm, if all of you, while you're talking to your legislators, could bring up the need for a delay, that's really, I think, our best chance at this point. We've asked the governor for an extension. We've talked to some legislators about carrying this. CalRecycle has not been open to delaying it. So at this point, we really need our legislators to be on board with helping with this. And it's going to be a struggle because we need bipartisan support, and there just isn't a big appetite to really help us in this realm.
Janice, was there anybody who from the public that wanted to speak and ask Aaron a question?
I have no requests from the public. However, committee member Spiegel has her hand raised.
I see that. Yes, Karen, go ahead, please.
I just want to give kudos to Erin for all her work and effort. I worked with Erin when I was on the Corona City Council for years. In fact, I was part of one who hired you, I think. But she put together this training, and all of you that are new, and even if you're not new, it is a very good use of your time. You learn a lot about the programs and the different organizations within the county, your opportunities and networking. It is something, if you excuse me, if you're available, I really recommend that you take the time to participate in that training session.
Thank you, Supervisor. I don't see any other hands raised. Seeing no other questions. Aaron, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Moving on to 6B, WRCOG Economic Development and Sustainability Framework Activities Update and Agency Goals for 2021. Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the committee. I'm Christopher Gray, Director of Transportation Planning for WRCOG. I'm here to brief you on our Sustainability and Economic Development Framework. This is a document we had prepared back in 2012. It was developed with input from elected officials, staff, and other stakeholders. There were approximately 50 people who participated in the additional document, and many of these participants have since retired, left the region, or no longer participate at a regional level. To remind everyone, for those of you who were not part of perhaps were part of the initial framework, or perhaps not, the document outlined that WRCOG has really 4 roles it can serve within the region. 1 is to create a dialogue. 2 is establish goals. 3, the document could also define and prioritize actions for WRCOG, and then also identify indicators, benchmarks, and targets. So the way the document is organized is it has really 6 key focus areas. The primary one is economic development, but also education, health, transportation, water and wastewater, energy and environment. When the document was first developed in 2012, it had 50 indicators. Back in 2019, we did a comprehensive review and identified that many of those indicators could be consolidated or otherwise combined. And then those indicators were presented at our General Assembly Leadership Conference. To review that very quickly, we found that at that time, about 2/3 of our jobs within our region were in retail, hospitality, and warehousing. We had also found that the percentage of people commuting outside of the county for work has actually increased. But on a positive note, we had found that water and energy consumption, since we had worked on the sustainability framework per capita, had actually gone down. And we'd also seen a significant improvement in violent crimes per capita. At the end of 2021, staff undertook a review, and it primarily focused on the actions as well as an overall review of the document. We determined that those focus areas that were related to many of our core programs, such as economic development, transportation, energy, and the environment, we had made a significant level of effort. In terms of water and health, we had made some progress. However, we had completed very few of the actions related to education. Based on that, staff is recommending we update the document. It is 10 years old. However, we believe it is still fundamentally correct. And some of the potential changes is obviously we need to reference RCHCA and WCE. We believe the baseline data indicators need to be refreshed. We also believe it's appropriate to look at the focus areas and refreshing the actions as well. Next steps is we're working with a consultant to identify a scope of work. We'll be back to you all in March for the update, and we'll be talking in particular about how we plan on doing outreach and reaching out to our key stakeholders. And I also want to spend a little bit of time to talk about our goals for 2021, which are related to the sustainability framework. Just briefly, as part of our staff report, we outlined some of our key accomplishments, which included transitioning our used oil program to an online format, obtaining $200,000 in grant funding for our energy resiliency plan. We completed our 109th 12th project, our 10th project, and we placed 12 fellows in WRCOG member agencies. One of our first goals is to implement the Inland Empire, the IREN, the Regional Energy Network. This is a joint effort with SBCOG, WRCOG, and CVAG. One of our key milestones will be bringing our business plan to the CPUC to allow us to move forward. We're continuing work on the exploration of an economic development corporation. We had our first steering committee last week. Thank you to those of you who attended. And our key milestone on that is that we're going to report back on the findings of our steering committee. That will probably be in about June. We have been working on our regional GIS and traffic modeling service bureau. We anticipate opening up applications to that program in March. We're in the process of buying some hardware and software for that. We are continuing to explore our housing trust, and we've been awarded $400,000 in grant funding from SCAG to continue work on that effort, and we'll be forming a steering committee for that. We bring that back to you in March for further discussion. And then the RCHCA has been working on Stevens Kangaroo Rat range-wide management plan. And Mr. Chairman, this is a receive and file item, and many of these items will be brought back to you later this year. But I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Janice, do we have any questions from the public and or the committee?
I see no requests, no hands raised.
All right, you got off easy today, Chris.
Thank you so much.
All right, moving on to item C, UCR presentation of Oasis Park. Rodolfo Torres. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, member of the committee, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Rodolfo Torres. I'm the Vice Chancellor for Research and Economic Development at UCR. I joined the university in the fall of 2019, almost in time to be experience the great pandemic that we're having. So we have a lot of plans, but what I want to talk about today about OASIS, which stands for the Opportunity to Advance Sustainability, Innovation, and Social Inclusion, is definitely one of our priorities, certainly also one of the priorities of Chancellor Wilcox for this and coming year regarding economic development at the university. We have experienced, as you all know, all kinds of events. In addition to COVID-19, we had to deal periodically with a natural disaster like fires in California. We are now suffering a big financial step back that we need to face. And also, you know, this has brought out a lot of, put in evidence one more time, a lot of inequality in terms of health and other aspects of our society. There's a lot of societal unrest in due part to racial inequalities and so on. So we saw all this effect, and more than ever before, I think it's something we have learned during this pandemic is that there is a big role for the research university to play, engaging the community to try to address all these difficult situations. And UCR in particular, being the only public research university in the Inland Empire, have a big role in this regard. So if you can move to the next slide, please. So what is OASIS? Well, the easiest way to describe it is kind of a innovation park or tech park, but we intend it to be much more than that. We want to be a place that anchor and class of diverse stakeholders, not just from the academic sector, but from industry, strengthening the connection we have built with CARB, that's the California Air Resource Board, serve as a home of many centers and programs that we want to develop, strengthen our partnership with workforce development in the area. And we want this to be a welcome and inclusive setting that inspires the next generation of diverse research and business leaders. You move to the next slide, please. So I don't think I need to tell you more a lot about this. We certainly think that the future of Southern California is where we are in the Inland Empire. We have a long tradition of promoting innovation in air quality research, agriculture, natural resources, clean logistics, and climate change. This is the fastest growing region in the country, projected to grow 44% by 2050. Social mobility, I already mentioned that. Inclusion and equality are hallmark feature of all the higher education institutions in the region. That's really our iconic feature, how diverse and inclusive we are, especially compared to other research universities in the nation. And then it's a great opportunity. There are so many things going on. There's the Opportunity Zone, Innovation District, and many regional initiatives that are, developed and being planned to stimulate the economy, and including the state commitment to sustainability, innovation, and social inclusion. Next, please. So this is something very interesting that Rosibel Ochoa, she's the Associate Vice Chancellor for Technology Partnership, which is also attending the meeting today. This is some studies she did that show something very interesting. Of course, the first bullet point there is nothing surprising. We know that SBR founded company tends to be the same as other companies, tends to be located in the southern, when we look at Southern California, tend to be located on the coast. However, when you look at where the innovation takes place, it's very interesting, and I find this very, very stimulating, that in the last 5 years, while the patents produced in the Inland Empire account to 6,500, and when you compare to Orange County, they're almost the same. They're 6,800 in Orange County. So this means that there's a lot of innovation and creativity taking place in our region. It's just that we haven't provided the mechanism for those innovations then to move forward within our region and tend to emigrate, as the same as we suffer in many other, many people daily commuting from the inland to the coast for jobs. Next, please. So we contribute in many ways as UCR to the economy. I already mentioned CAR, the relocation of CAR, which is a $420 million investment, was in great part facilitated by the president of UCR. We have produced a lot of investment in research in the last decade, of which 475 million of the 1.3 billion is in STEM-related field. For the first time, despite COVID and all the restrictions we have, for the first time this year, we exceeded the 200 million per year mark in terms of grant and contract. And I also want to point out to a recent economic study done by the Office of the President in the UC system. And that study determined that UCR generates, in terms of direct, that means our own employee, indirect, the job opportunity we create by contracting services and vendors, and then induce further by, they in turn create more need for goods and manufacturing. So UCR is responsible in the Inland Empire alone of 20,000 jobs that will not exist if UCR will not be there, and a total economic output of $2.3 billion. So this is really very impressive, but our claim is that we can do a lot more than that. And as you may have seen in the news, our school, a relatively young medical school, School of Medicine is really unique in the sense that is embedded into the community and receive an additional $25 million permanent $25 million increase in budget from the state. Next, please. So we will leverage in terms of research, which are our some of our areas of excellence in which we have a long tradition, that is clean transportation infrastructure, clean energy and fuels, agricultural technology and food security, and natural resources management. Next. So we're already involved in many partnerships with many of you, actually, even that are attending this meeting today. I will not go over all of that, but we have been engaged with the city and neighboring cities and counties, with state and local government in several initiatives, the utility companies, and also the private sector business, so ABL, Horiba, Burns, SolarMax, Volvo Truck. There's just some of the few companies that work and have program in place with UCR. You have a copy of the slide, so in the interest of time, I'm going to skip to the next one. So these are the conceptual elements that make part of what we envision to form in OASIS. Of course, we want to have high-tech laboratories, training and public outreach space, community space. We can go to engage with many different stakeholders and have in OASIS a place where they can meet. Incubator space and entrepreneurial support, that's crucial to some of the activities we are developing, and a place for industry to collaborate and have visitor space. And of course, also integrated office space and retail space and other activities that will serve the people that work in OASIS. Next, please. So together with in OASIS as a physical location, we think of OASIS Innovation as the program that will fuel this innovation engine. And so there are several areas in which that we think we will be able to accomplish and achieve with this. So we want to become a regional engine for for startup companies. We already have some incubators in the area. We want to develop more and even have further space for as this company grow and graduate from the incubator. We want to share with industry all the talent that we have at the university and invite others to join in that. We have a state-of-the-art test facility and want to develop more of those. And also, very important, we need to provide access to capital to seed and grow as the most promising and viable startup company. Next, please. So, I perhaps went very quickly over that, but I know I didn't have much time, so I'll be happy to answer any question that you may have.
I don't see any hands raised at the moment. Anybody have any questions, comments? Seeing none.
Mr. Chairman, this is Chris Gray. I just wanted to add for the benefit of the committee, we had brought an item back previous last year to you all in August or September related to some efforts we were making similar. And since then, we've had numerous conversations with UC Riverside. So the purpose of this presentation is really to brief you on the work that UC Riverside is doing and also let you know that we'll be bringing back an item probably in March or April to discuss our efforts at working with UC Riverside as well as other partners within the region on this topic.
And if I may add also, I forgot to mention, we have put a request for proposal for consultant to help us develop the first phase of OASIS. And one of the things that we will do, we are in the final stage, we will probably have in the next couple of weeks, the consultant decided. One of the first things we'll do is engage directly with many stakeholders, including WRCOG, of course. And, as we say, we don't want and we cannot do this alone. We need to engage every opportunity and group that is interested in growing the economy in the region.
So Chris or Rick, essentially what we're seeing here was sort of an outgrowth of the process that we did to create an incubator economic, and so what sort of morphed into was an alliance with UC Riverside. Is that correct?
That is one. We'll be bringing back some more information, but I wanted to let you know that UC Riverside has one of the main initiatives related to this. Chairman Bash, I believe you're familiar with another one, which is the IE Tech Bridge.
Right.
And we'll be asking a representative of IE Tech Bridge to come out and speak about that initiative as well.
Okay, so they're coinciding, or they're going to bridge together, or?
I believe that, and I'll let Vice Chancellor speak to this from UCR's perspective, but WRCOG's perspective is that given the information we've shared with you all as part of the EDC, our region really needs all the help we can get to lift up the regional economy. And I believe it would be best if we all were to work together on all of these efforts. And so I don't want to speak for UCR, but I would just say from WRCOG's perspective, I believe that we need to find a framework and a structure to allow us all to work together effectively.
Got it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think we want to be very inclusive in this, and I think working together, we can develop a lot more synergy that following particular initiative. The thing is that since I came, I'm very excited. I have made so many groups, so many people. Sometimes, to be honest, it's hard to keep track of all the initiatives that are taking place in the region. But I think we need to focus a little more. We need to make some concrete step. All the planning is fantastic. All, the common interests are clear, and all what is for us and for the region to gain is fantastic potential. I think one big component of this, of course, is funding, right? So we were going to get a $10 million through a request through Senator Roth to the legislation. Because of COVID, that was put on hold. We are trying to see if we will get it this year or not. But it won't be enough to get support from the state. I think we need to reach out to industry and the private sector, investor and developers That I think will be the key to the success, how we can engage, you know, other individuals that can contribute to finance and invest in this, which is a great opportunity.
Chairman Bash, I would just add also that we see this aligning with the goals of our economic development. If we were to form an economic development corporation for the region, we believe it would align greatly with the efforts as part of OASIS. So we see that there's strong alignment between a number of initiatives, but as Vice Chancellor Torres says, we will need to, at some point as a region, coalesce around certain initiatives, and it's important that we all get together and get behind them, because if we're all pulling in different directions, it won't be as successful as if we all find common cause.
No, I completely understand. I do have a question myself, sir, Vice Chancellor Torres.
Sure.
Is there any component in what you're seeing to retool people? Right now, we're hearing a lot about how people are going to get new jobs, but I've been working for quite a while with the Riverside City College District, particularly Norco College, and I seem to hit a brick wall in terms of actually retooling people, and that seems to be something that's sort of true throughout the education sector. As people need new skill sets to do the new jobs, there doesn't seem to be, well, frankly, the willingness to do that. And I'm not talking about a 4-year school or training to go. I'm talking about somebody who's 40 years old. They, let's say, work at Amazon.
Right.
They now need to learn how to fix a robot. And there doesn't seem to be, and some of these jobs you have to continually train. It's sort of like fixing cars. You've got to train every year. Is there anything in what you're doing that?
Yeah, no, I think you hit a very important point, and we have had conversation with also with the community colleges in the area. There is this need, you know, a lot of jobs, as many jobs as have been created by the logistic industry. Unfortunately, many of those jobs are going to disappear because of robotics, because of new technology. And it's necessary, one, to create an opportunity for those individuals, as you say, to be retrained for the job opportunity, but also, and I think the aspect where UCR can contribute the most is to create also a new set of jobs, and bring industry, bring companies to the area, so that newer jobs are creating, which for which we can train and prepare people. So it's indeed, it's going to be a very interesting time as we see technology developing, and one of our goals is to have better and cleaner logistics in the area. We are becoming a big hub in the nation and even internationally, and so we will need to address that, exactly what you're mentioning too, right?
Thank you, sir. Well, as a 1977 graduate of UCR, I'm proud of what you're doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, sir, for your time. I really appreciate it. Moving on to item D, activities update from the Eastern Municipal Water District. Phil Paul and Brenda Denstadt.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Phil Pauly, and I'm the president.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
That's okay. I'm the president of Eastern Municipal Water District. For a point of reference, it's my second tour of duty on WRCOG. In fact, myself and a few other water leaders came to Rick Bishop about 11, 12 years ago and started the conversation that water districts might be a part of WRCOG. So I think we have a lot to offer at the local government level. And Rick's foresight and the board at the time added ourselves and Western on, and I'm proud to be back. So just a real quick about Eastern Municipal Water District. We serve about 550 square miles of Moreno Valley to Temecula. We serve about 850,000 customers. We are one of the member agencies of the Metropolitan Water District. And for you, those of you not in water, that means if you're a MET member, you have the ability to bring water off the Colorado River and serve it to your customers. So us and Director Denstadt at Western, we're the two Met member agencies for Riverside County. And the question I get asked all the time is, why is your district called Eastern when it's in Western Riverside County? So when we were formed about 50 years ago, the engineering folks, and most engineering folks aren't really good at branding or names, they said, well, you're the easternmost member of the Metropolitan Water District, so we're going to call you Eastern. And so I get asked that all the time, and I'm constantly trying to think of new names for us, but we're pretty embedded with the Eastern model. So anyway, next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we are one of the member agencies that can import Colorado River water, which comes from the Colorado River Basin. We also, through Metropolitan Water District, import water from Northern California, which is something we in the water community are very proud of, but we also know there needs to be some fixes in how we get water around the Bay Delta. We're working on that. We also are very good at Eastern at local supplies. We have a lot of groundwater at Eastern. However, it's very brackage, which means it needs to go through a process called desaltination. And so we have one desalter in the Menifee area, and we're currently in the process of expanding that greatly so that we can use local water supplies. One of the things about water that people don't understand is moving water takes a lot of energy. So when we move it from Northern California or from the Colorado River, we spend a lot of energy on pumping that water over hills. And so it's always better to use local groundwater resources. It's better for the environment if we're not using that energy to pump water. So next slide, please. So we are in, it's raining today. It rained over the weekend, and that's good for us. We always like rain in the water business. It's been sort of a dry year so far, but where we get our water, which is the Colorado River Basin in Northern California, we're a little below where we probably want to be, but we're hanging in there this year. So even though we have a kind of a dry year in Southern California, a lot of our water resources are having fairly good years. Next slide, please. So just to give you an idea of where we have come in the last 30 years at Eastern, in 1990, we served about a little over 3.5 thousand people, 350,000 people, and we got 66% of our water was imported. Today, we serve 850,000 people, almost 2.5 times more, and we've actually lowered the amount of Colorado and state water resources that we have in our service area. We have done that by greatly expanding our recycled water. Recycled water to me is one of the most important things we can do for the environment. That means water in our area doesn't really leave our area. It doesn't go back to the ocean, doesn't get evaporated. We capture that water, we recycle it, and we use it for agriculture. We use it for green belts. We use it for energy. So by increasing our population the last 2.5 times in the last 30 years, we have actually lowered our water footprint as far as the getting water from other areas. And we're very, very proud of that. We will continue to invest in our recycled water system. Next slide, please. I guess that's it. So that's kind of a quick snapshot on Eastern, and I will be happy to answer any questions. If they're really hard questions, I'm going to pass those over to Brenda, though.
Thanks, Phil. I appreciate that.
Brenda, do you want to add something or?
No, I just wanted to welcome my colleague back onto this pristine board we're on and look forward to his leadership and our partnership as we collaborate on projects moving forward in the future. One of the things that we're priding ourselves on is doing a lot of collaborative projects and using the customer money to a best of its abilities and joining those resources. We've been very successful at getting grant money to the region. In fact, we're some of the most successful agencies in metropolitan service area in order to get those funds here to the Inland Empire, which obviously takes care of not just our customers, but business owners and the region to fortify us for drought proofing and get water service here. So just looking forward to collaborating with him and welcoming him. And I also wanted to let you guys know too, if there is something meaningful that we can bring to you as far as water discussion and something that you're really interested in, we're all ears and we'd be happy to have you send over a thought to us as to what you would like to see in terms of topic. I know that there's a lot of, and probably our biggest challenge, and Phil, hopefully you can chime in on this, is the regulatory challenges that we face moving into the future and what that means to our industry, what that means to the consumer, and the costs that are involved with all of those regulations as they continue to increase and how that affects you. So I know that's going to be something that we're going to be challenged with in the future, and just looking forward to letting everybody know what they want to know. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brenda. Russ Brown has his hand raised.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bill, I just have a question. I've been fortunate enough to have been able to participate in both of the water tours, the Colorado and the state water tour. And I benefited a lot from being able to participate in that. And I'm just wondering, since like in our city, we have 2 brand new city council members, and I know that they would really benefit as well, and along with other new council members. Do you have any insight? It's probably COVID related, but do you have any insight on when those tours might be resumed?
Hopefully, as we come out of COVID, there are 2 tours that the Metropolitan Water District does. I've been on both of them, and I agree. Every elected official in local government in Southern California should probably sometime during their career go on them. And just for you that don't know, we kind of kidnapped you. We put you on a bus, and we either take you out to the Colorado River, up to the Sacramento Valley. And the one thing we do is feed you well during the entire 3-day experience. But it is watching water come from Colorado or Northern California, and we call it follow the water as it comes down to our service area, and you learn a lot, especially on the Colorado River. The fact that you've got this project that was built in the 1930s without modern technology that brings water well over 200 miles from the Colorado River into Southern California, and it's still operating today. The pumps are, it's an amazing, amazing system. So hopefully when we get those back online, let myself or Director Denstedt know, and we would always be helpful to get some local folks on those water tours, because I agree, they are a real educational opportunity.
Thank you, Phil.
I see no more hands raised. Any other questions going once, going twice? All right. Thank you guys very much. Thank you. Number 7, report from the Technical Advisory Committee Chair, my favorite city manager, Mr. Coro.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and executive board members. The TAC, we had our meeting on January 24th. We had a couple of presentations. One of them is on an item that you've already had this afternoon, and that is the Economic Development and Sustainability Framework document. As you know, this document drives some of the key priorities that WRCOG is working on. And from the TAC perspective, we support that this document be updated given the changes that have taken place since the document was first put in place. The second item we had presentation on is the business plan that is being jointly put together by the regional council governments here in the Inland Empire, including Coachella Valley Association of Government, San Bernardino Council of Government, and of course WRCOG. And the business plan centers on the Inland Regional Energy Network. We, as all cities, should be benefiting from this program. Is a program that is funded by the California Public Utilities Commission that is geared towards encouraging cities to develop and implement energy efficiency programs. The allocation of $50 million to this Inland Empire region is very substantial. And so the TAC is very supportive of this idea, and is an idea that will benefit all the cities in the region in terms of developing energy programs. All cities are encouraged to send letters of support. With that, that is all the items I have to update with respect to items discussed at the TAC.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Okoro. Do we have any questions? I see no hands raised.
See no hands, but a chat came in, Mr. Chair, if I can read it real quick from Patty Arlt.
Great.
She's with Metropolitan Water District. She says currently EMWD has virtual tours available online of the Colorado River Aqueduct and the new regional recycle water plant. You can sign up at mwdh2o.com. Again, that's mwdh2o.com.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend at the very least to do that. I've taken both tours, and it's, as most of you I think have, and it's you don't really realize where our water comes from. We kind of take it for granted. Thank you, Andy. So now moving on to item 8, report from committee representatives. Do we have anyone that would like to speak up first? Ben, Brian, Ted, Crystal? Ben?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just as far as AQMD, no major items to update. There is a lot coming up in the next few months, though, especially as we look at continuing to turn down reclaim. We still have quite a few major rules, but probably most important is the rules that will be affecting our refineries. And that rule right now, as it's coming forward, will have a great impact on refineries to the tunes of, could be north of $500 million or $500 billion, excuse me, of potential changes ought to make those refineries. So how they implement that, if they're going to be able to, with the state's new goal of basically getting rid of gas-powered cars by 2035 is a big question. So nothing this month, but just want to make sure it's on everyone's horizon as we're looking at that as the future.
Great. Thank you, Ben. Brian Teasdale.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So a couple of things. We did have a meeting on the 21st of January for CalCog. It was primarily a catch everybody sort of up to speed on what was going on with the organization. We went over budgets and things like that. A lot of focus on housing programs, and they're paying real close attention to the housing programs. There's tons of key legislation items for 2021 that they're monitoring. So you can go to their webpage, calcog.gov, and look at some of those. And of course, some of the other things that they're really paying close attention to is housing, economic and community development, and things like that. So it was basically a catch us up to date. And I think our next meeting is in March. And it will probably be a Zoom meeting, and I'll be in attendance. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Brian. SAPA, Ted Hoffman.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. Our January meeting was canceled, but they did provide us with the written status update in lieu of a meeting. And the major part is the Proposition 1, Round 1 Integrated Regional Water Management final funding awards were presented. There's going to be about $23 million in grant funding to the watershed of OWOW. And they should be, the grant agreements will be executed by the end of February, on February 28th of this year. And that concludes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And if I could offer some little commentary to my Horsetown friend, just so he knows, and for everybody else, SAPA just went through interviews to replace its general manager who is retiring after many years of service. And we have a new general manager that will be starting about mid-month this month. It's going to be a man named Jeffrey Mosier, and we're really excited to have him on board. So, oh wow, should be kicking up as we get him onboarded and get him going in all kinds of different directions, and oh wow will be one of them. So look forward to all that.
Well, thank you very much, Brenda.
Absolutely.
Both of you. Crystal Ruiz, Sandag.
Thank you. So we did have our meeting on the 22nd. We were discussing the San Diego Forward, the 2021 regional plan, as well as the 2021 Freight Gateway Study update. Some interesting information as far as the truck routes and what they're planning on doing. We also had the trade corridor. We had a discussion on Senate Bill 1, Trade Corridor Enhancement Program, funding awards, and how we could work together to get funding mainly for their area, but some of it we may be eligible. So as soon as we get some more information, I'll get back to you.
All right. I think I got everybody there. Moving on to Rick Bishop, report from the Executive Director. Hi, Rick.
Hi, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Nothing new to report, but I did want to thank and welcome all of the new members to the Executive Committee. I think we've had a chance to meet via the Zoom platform with most all of you. I know Mayor Dawson, we still need to, Locke Dawson, we still need to meet with you. Wanted to also say welcome back to Directors Polly and Councilmember Bootsma. So good to have you guys back. And that's it. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have any items for future agenda? Anybody
Committee
have
member
something?
Spiegel has her hand raised.
Yes, Karen.
And I do apologize because this got by me in the beginning when we were doing the minutes, and the only reason it's important is because minutes are our record. And back in the beginning, and I had the note for myself and I failed to do it, so I apologize. On the minutes, page 5, item C, there is an approval and you have Calamasa and Canyon Lake listed twice, both as an aye and a no.
Thank you. I'll look into that.
And then the second thing is we're going to have, no, never mind. That's, yeah, if you could look into that because I can't remember it. I'm looking through my notes and I don't have what it was. So just need to make sure we get that accurate.
Is there anyone else? I don't see anybody else's hands raised. All right, moving on to item 11, general announcements. Anybody have something they want to let us know about?
Committee member Barajas has his hand raised.
Yes.
Yes, I meant for future item agenda. Sorry, I didn't get my hand raised in time. If we can, I'd like for the committee to at least discuss municipal broadband. We have cities across the country now that are instituting municipal broadband at a lower cost and higher speed. And with the pandemic now, we've seen the digital divide exacerbated. So I think it merits at least a discussion for our committee, if that can come back to a future agenda.
So Rick, what we'll do is maybe discuss it. I think that's actually a really good idea. So when we do the next agenda, maybe we'll talk about when we can bring that aboard. It's a good idea.
Will do.
Any other items? I see no other hands raised. Okay, we're now going to move to closed session. That's item 12. Mr. Bond, is there any announcements you have to make before adjourning to closed session?
Yes, we have several items on the closed session agenda. We have items related to the bankruptcy filing by Renovate America, and then also items related to potential litigation resulting from that bankruptcy.
Great, that sounds like fun. All right, just kidding, just kidding. All right, so I guess what we will do now is move into closed session. Are we gonna close it here? We're gonna move into that secret room.
We will ask individuals not included in closed session to please log off. We don't anticipate any reportable actions and we'll adjourn the meeting from closed session.
Great, thank you so much. Anybody who doesn't stick with us, thank you all for coming out today. Really appreciate it. And to the new people, welcome.